and we can get started. I'm so happy you're here with us today. Thank you so much for coming. I would love to hear where you're signing on from. Yes, we have one from Venezuela. Okay, awesome. Barbara, thank you for joining us. Anybody else? Is there anybody locally here in Orange County who knows of Magnolia Wellness and is coming to join us this evening? I would love to hear from you and where you are. Costa Mesa, woohoo! Thank you, Amanda. So happy you're here. Really, really excited for tonight. I'm just going to kind of dig into some details about fertility, how to maximize fertility, how to eat for fertility, and how to really take care of yourself and optimize your health in the process. The big reason why this is so important is because the same things that help really overcome infertility are the same things that help you stay pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy, avoid miscarriage, and then prevent postpartum depression and a really successful breastfeeding. So it's crazy, but it is all related. And I think that's the beauty of traditional Chinese medicine. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the next one here. If you have any questions along the way, again, please ask me and we can dig into this as we go. So today, this is really an opportunity to figure out how to optimize your health. It's an opportunity to figure out exactly what it is that you want to do to make sure that your body is working well for you. Now, when you're trying to get pregnant, and whether you're here tonight because you're trying to optimize your fertility or you're trying really hard to make sure that you have the ability to get pregnant, stay pregnant, and make sure that you're avoiding all things miscarriage, this is why it's so important to talk about the things that will help prevent miscarriage and keep you pregnant. If you've been struggling to get pregnant or stay pregnant, if you've been on a roller coaster of emotional ups and downs, if maybe you missed your period or you don't know if you're ovulating, these are all things that we're going to address tonight. So it's really important to me when working with any of my clients that they're as committed as I am, because I can't help you if you're not willing to learn. So we're doing this together, and that's really, really important for the process. For me, I really like to talk about what I can bring to the table. And if you are really, really committed, then I'm absolutely positive that you can get pregnant. And this is something that is really important. We're going to offer some amazing bonuses, a special discounted consultation with me, and my toxic top 10 list. So you're also going to learn how to customize and tailor make a solution for your fertility. And whether that's about really optimizing your health or detoxing because of things that you've been exposed to throughout your lifetime. These are all possibilities. Now, my name is Angela. I am part of a co-op here, and these are the wonderful women that are part of Magnolia. We are functional medicine, we are acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, and a ton of other amazing practitioners, including lactation consultants and therapists. Why I came into this medicine is my best friend in college was really struggling through fertility. And it was before I actually chose to subspecialize in fertility. So she would call me devastated after a miscarriage. And she was absolutely distraught. And I felt so hopeless every single time she called because I didn't know what to do to help her. And at the time I was an acupuncturist, but it wasn't my specialty. I hadn't really dug into fertility to know the herbs, to know the ancient formulas that really help boost ovarian function and stimulate follicle quality. So I would refer her out to my friends and other colleagues who did specialize in fertility, and she wouldn't work with them. She really wanted me. And so it was an opportunity for me to really evaluate if I could help my best friend. And ultimately she got pregnant and she has a healthy baby boy who is now 3 years old. He's actually celebrating his 3-year-old birthday here in November. I bring all of this to the table because at the same time, there's so much environmental research that's talking about the toxins that we're exposed to that really play a huge role in this as well. And unfortunately, the statistics are staggering. So we've got a lot of things coming at us, a lot of statistics, especially after COVID and vaccinations, that play a huge role in fertility that I think are really important to take into consideration for our future and for our generational future for our children. So what I bring to the table as a traditional Chinese medicine specialist is a lot of research and experience. I've been doing this for 15 years now. And what I think traditional Chinese medicine offers is a whole body approach. We're looking at how every single system plays into the next system. So how the liver and the spleen in Chinese medicine connect with the kidney to help vitality, life force, and essence to boost the fertility. And all of these things essentially feed the reproductive organ through the digestive system. So there's all of these cycles that play a huge role. And how that's different than Western medicine is that Western medicine looks at the specific areas that they focus on. So we're looking only at the reproductive organs. We're looking at the function of the ovaries, the function of the uterus, the function even of maybe the cervix, the function of the sperm for the men. But all of that plays a role. Like, how do we make sure that we have healthy blood that nourishes the reproductive organs? How do we make sure that we have healthy follicles that are actually being nourished by that blood? It comes through the digestion and what we eat on a regular basis and what we're giving to our body to then disperse out to the different systems. And this doesn't just apply to women and the female reproductive system. It's especially important for males because their cellular turnover in the sperm is a daily pattern. So the things that they eat on a regular basis really have an immediate impact. And these are the things that I think are so important to teach, because a huge amount of the statistics these days is talking about how infertility is affected by what we eat, by our stress levels, and by the environmental toxins. So I'm going to go into detail on that a little bit later into our webinar and give you some really good tools and tips. I really just want to reiterate that we need to look at this as a whole body approach, because all of it is tied together: the physical, the emotional, and even the spiritual. So digging into the sperm, I bring this up because there are multiple research studies that talk about how sperm is declining. And most of the women that I know, especially the ones that I've seen over the last decade and a half, are taking the fertility burden upon themselves. And they kind of drag their partner along with them, or they'll set up the supplements and they'll dish out the multivitamins and the omegas and the CoQ10 to them on the counter so that their partners will actually take the supplements. But it's really important that you're talking a lot with your partner. Are they as involved in this process? Because they do make up half the equation. Are they drinking? Are they making healthy decisions? Are they smoking weed? All of these things affect the sperm DNA, the sperm morphology, and the sperm swimming ability. And so I really think it's important to bring your partners into this equation, to help educate them, to get their sperm tested, to do the things that you know you have a partner in. So how is this program different? You might be thinking, well, what are you going to offer me? From my experience in traditional Chinese medicine, a lot of what I bring together is the best of Western medicine and functional nutrition and functional medicine combined with traditional Chinese medicine, herbology, as well as the food. So if we're looking at overall tips and tricks, making sure that you're always eating warm foods, that your body isn't cold, that you're not shutting down your digestion by drinking a smoothie first thing in the morning and allowing your body to have to work from a deficit. These are all really important factors when it comes to fertility, because the digestion is so close to the reproductive organs that if you're shutting down your digestion from a very, very early stage in the morning, it has to work overtime to be able to nourish your uterus, your ovaries, and build those follicles. So these little things over time make a huge impact. I want to make sure that your period is regular, that you're seeing some really good cervical mucus that looks like egg white fluid. I want to make sure the quality of your eggs is really healthy and that your insulin levels are really healthy because we balanced your blood sugar. I also want to make sure that you're not introducing really toxic environmental chemicals into the life of your baby. So it's important to me to really dig into some of the things that are going to help you eliminate those out of the equation so that you prioritize your baby's health by taking care of your own first. Now, if I'm to talk about what makes some of my clients the most successful is their ability and their desire to succeed. You have to be coachable. You want to walk the spiritual path. You want to understand how the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual aspects all play a role in the progress for the fertility. And it's hard because it is really, really emotionally difficult. It's a roller coaster and it's hard to stay positive. So some of the things that I like to do are talk about some tools and tips to make sure that even if you have tried IUI and IVF, you know you can totally do this. I have a client right now who is 42 and had gone through multiple IUIs and IVFs. And after working with me, she is now 16 weeks pregnant. So it's really exciting stuff. It makes me like overjoyed to see that, because this was really one of the things she came to me and she said, I'm going to try everything. I'm on my last chance. I have one egg and I'm going for it. And then if this doesn't work, I trust that it wasn't in my path. And I said, let's do it. And she got pregnant and is a healthy baby, a healthy pregnancy, and a healthy baby is coming soon. So digging into fertility, if you guys will stick with me for just a minute here, I want to kind of go over the basics of what qualifies for infertility. And for those of you who know a lot of these details, I'll dig into a lot of tips that help with significant diagnoses around infertility as we go, but just give me a couple minutes to dig into this, because I really want you to feel confident in your body and know that you are capable of this. So how do you know if you have fertility issues? If your menstrual cycles are irregular, they're too long, more than 33 days, or too short, meaning less than 26. Ideally, we want them somewhere between 28 and 32. That's a really good indicator. If you're spotting before you start to bleed, that's an indicator that there is a decline in ovarian reserve. So we want to make sure we're boosting ovarian function so that we can offset that ovarian decline before it starts to happen. If you're not ovulating, meaning you're not seeing cervical mucus, if you don't have that egg white fluid during ovulation, if you've been trying to get pregnant for almost a year with frequent intercourse, that's a good indication. And then if you have recurrent miscarriages, or your partner's sperm is struggling with morphology, motility, or DNA. So digging into fertility issues, I want to give a couple tips, because these are common ones that come up frequently with a lot of the clients that I work with. If you have any polyps, uterine polyps or uterine fibroids, these are really, really common. There is a classic Chinese herbal formula called Guizhi Fu Ling Wang that works wonders to help dissolve fibroids. Generally speaking, the rule of thumb, if it's over 5 centimeters, then you probably want to consult with a surgeon and think about some other considerations and options. But these are a lot of the things that I like to talk with you one-on-one, because again, every situation is different and it's important to customize it for your specific needs. If there is a fibroid that is more than 5 centimeters, oftentimes it can play a role in inhibiting the pregnancy. And so those are factors to take into consideration. If it is less than 5 centimeters, then the Guizhi Fu Ling Wang is a wonderful resource to use to try to diminish that and try to make sure that you can move some of that blood that is stuck and accumulating in the uterus. If you have an unusually shaped uterus, which is also common, we highly recommend being evaluated by a doctor, doing some sort of ultrasound so you understand the shape of the uterus and what your specific issue is. If you have cervical mucus problems, meaning your body isn't necessarily producing cervical mucus, it's really important to stay hydrated, to avoid things that dry you out, like antihistamines, caffeine, nicotine. And then seed cycling is something that has been really, really popular discussion lately. So eating lots of seeds and nuts that cycle with the different phases, the different weeks of your menstrual period are really indicative. And then getting really healthy fats. So flaxseed, chia seed, salmon, egg yolks. So good for fertility. Chinese medicine loves egg yolks for fertility. And then if you like sardines, the salty, hairy things, feel free, but not my favorite. Put it on there just in case you know how good it is for you. I always like to dig into the unexplained infertility, because in many cases, infertility is unknown and never found, but that's why I'm here. And that's the exact thing that I want to focus on, is because in my opinion, there's never really a root cause for why someone is or there is always a root cause for why someone is struggling with infertility. There is never really unexplained infertility. We usually can get to the bottom of it. 99.1% of the time, we can get to the bottom of why someone is struggling with infertility. So I'm talking about 3 really important things, and this makes up about 80% of the equation. And so if I'm giving you tools that you can work on at home and do these things for yourself, then you just have a little bit that you can really seek out a professional to help you and kind of meet the rest of it with working with someone. So 3 huge reasons for infertility. We have toxins, nutrient deficiencies, and then stress. Huge, huge factor. Even in periods, that makes such a difference in your stress levels by your menstruation. So if we're digging into toxins, we're looking at the biotoxins that you're exposed to: parasites, mold, fungus, viruses, bacteria. We've also seen a lot of latent viruses popping back up after COVID. It's almost like COVID has kind of pushed them back up into the system. And so these are things that we evaluate, and you can do it naturally, depending on where it's hitting you in your body, if it's in your lungs, if it's more in the pelvic region, if you're getting reoccurring UTIs, or maybe it's just affecting your stress levels. A lot of the things that we talk about on a regular basis are really easy to treat with natural supplements and remedies. If we're looking at environmental toxins like food, it's really important to evaluate the antibiotics in our food supply, the pesticides particularly, as well as any sort of endocrine disruptors. So I'm talking about plastics. If you're drinking your water bottle out of plastic, we need to change that immediately. Please don't ever put the Costco version of the case of water or the Trader Joe's case of water in your trunk, so that the heat heats the water, expands it, puts those plastic molecules into your water, and then when it cools off, you drink it. You are literally ingesting endocrine disruptors that block the hormone receptors. And that is one exposure can make a huge difference. So please, if I could ask anything of you tonight, please stop drinking out of plastic. The other thing is really important to take into consideration is heavy metals, including dentistry, pollution, radiation. These are things that we have less control over. So it's just really important that your liver is working really well and that you can detoxify, so that when you are exposed to air pollution or factors that you can't control, you have a quick way to start detoxing. So 3 really quick life hacks: Epsom salt baths, because they're chock full of minerals, specifically magnesium, that will help sort of leach some of these chemicals through your pores. Morning lemon water is one of the easiest ways to do it. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I drink is a cup of warm lemon water. And this helps to open up the liver and start circulating things. And then the warmth opens up my digestion. So it almost gives my body this phenomenal warmth, like it is gas for my engine, to help disperse and move all the nutrients and fluids out to the different organ systems and the different pathways in my body, all the way out to my toes and my fingers. I also love recommending mung beans, M-U-N-G beans, mung beans. Those are like little green split peas that you can find at the bulk food section. Now, here in California, we have Whole Foods, a market called Mother's, or Sprouts. Wherever you're located, I want you to look for mung beans, and preferably organic. But mung beans are the #1 food to detoxify the liver. And so if you've just been through a procedure, maybe you've had anesthesia, maybe after giving birth, you have an epidural, and you want to try to get these toxins out of your system as fast as possible so that you can start breastfeeding and you feel very, very, very good about what's coming through your milk supply. Mung beans are a really good one to have on hand. And then dandelion tea in the afternoon. You can kind of just sip on this, and it's yet another way to detoxify the liver. Nutrient deficiencies are really, really important, because the nutrients are what really feeds your body. It's what gives your blood enough nourishment to be able to grow a human. And it's what you circulate through your system when you are pregnant. So it transfers through the placenta and the blood-brain barrier. And the more nutrients you have, the more you're going to be able to nourish your baby to offset any potential problems in the future. So taking into account really good prenatal vitamins, really good minerals. I love trace minerals, and I think they're great to add back into your water, especially if you have a reverse osmosis system, which is a phenomenal water system, but it does bring everything out of it. So you do need to reintroduce minerals and healthy nutrients back into the water. And then don't forget amino acids and antioxidants. So just going into a little bit around female infertility and the different vitamins and what they provide. It's really, really important to look at vitamin B's. It gives you energy, but it also increases your rate of pregnancy. Vitamin C helps induce ovulation, and it helps with progesterone levels. And as some of you may know, progesterone is really important for preventing a miscarriage. It's one of the things that a lot of reproductive endocrinologists will prescribe as a blanket drug when you're going through IVF processes to ensure you do not miscarry once you do have a successful pregnancy. Vitamin D is extraordinarily important for both your immune system, the baby's immune system, and it helps increase the sex hormones, so estrogen and progesterone. Vitamin E helps with implantation. Selenium helps prevent miscarriage. And selenium is often found in a Brazil nut. So if you get in the habit of just eating one Brazil nut a day, it is your daily supply of selenium. And that's the best resource and the best way to get it in is through food. And glutathione. Glutathione is like a superstar these days. It's really good at protecting eggs, fertilized or not, from oxidative damage. And what that means is your body is exposed to these environmental toxins, the antioxidants, and the processes can start to kind of deteriorate some of the cellular turnover. So CoQ10 is really good to help with positive cellular turnover to make sure that the cells you are growing, which a baby is all cells, and the reproduction rate at which the cells grow with the new baby is exponential. So I love to introduce glutathione to open up the liver pathway, help detox, and help prevent any sort of accumulation of what we like to think of as like hormone accumulation, especially if you're going through an IUI and an IVF process. Cysteine is also extraordinarily helpful. Antioxidants, minerals, and folate. There's a lot of discussion on folate and methylated folate. This digs further into your methylation processes or how you detoxify. Oftentimes really good prenatals will contain methylated folate, and we can get into the specifics of this later if you have questions and want to dig into this in the chat. But if you do not detoxify well, if you aren't methylating well, then your body will have a tendency to take folic acid and make it toxic, which is not a good thing if you're trying to prevent some issues with the babe. So it's really important to know how you detoxify, how you methylate, and make sure that you are tested for genes like the MTHFR gene prior to getting pregnant and introducing some of these into your system. Stress. Stress is massive, and so many of us live with stress every day. So the reason why I talk about this, it is the number one factor I see for changing a woman's period, and the number one factor for changing and affecting fertility and hormones. So according to New York's American Institute of Stress, 90% of Americans are experiencing stress. And given what we've all just been through, I think this is really important to look at different ways that stress affects the body. If you have higher stress, it elevates your cortisol levels. And with elevated cortisol levels, it affects your hormones. When it affects your hormones, it leads to lower FSH and LH levels. Your FSH is your follicle stimulating hormone, and your LH is your luteinizing hormone. These are both very, very important to take into consideration for your ovarian reserve or your ovarian function and egg quality. So if your ovulation gets disrupted as a result of estrogen and progesterone production getting disrupted, that creates period problems, but it also affects your eggs. So that is why stress is so extraordinarily important. And if you are going through any aspect of reproductive therapy or assisted reproductive therapies, it's really going to increase the stress levels. That's just a known factor. And so what we like to do is give some tools and ways to be able to offset some of that stress. One of the easiest ways to do this, and a simple technique to be able to use at home while you're in your car, is to inhale through your nose and exhale out your mouth as if you're blowing out of a straw. You can even roll your tongue, if you can roll your tongue and blow through the straw. But inhale through your nose and exhale out through a straw. If you can do that 6 times, inhale through your nose, exhale out through your mouth, it will literally reset your nervous system. It takes you out of that fight or flight mode into the rest and digest mode. And your body cannot get stressed if it's in rest and digest, because when you're breathing out of your nose, it doesn't know how to be stressed. When you're breathing in through your nose, it only knows that your digestion can open up and that your nervous system is calmed down. So these are extraordinarily helpful techniques. I also love to recommend meditation. There's so many good apps out there a day. If you can take 5 to 10 minutes, it's a game changer. And as much as I'd like it to be a luxury these days, it's not, it's a necessity. So everyone needs to be taking 10 minutes, even if it's right before bed to help you fall asleep. Get those blue lights out of there, get the screens out of there, and fall asleep in a way that helps your brain shift into a restful sleeping mode. Getting into nature, and most importantly, this is the number one thing, is to get creative. If you are trying to create a human, if you are literally trying to create and be in creation energy, you need to create in your own everyday life. And whether that's just drawing a top hat on a frog on a napkin, or it's taking a cooking class with your partner, or dancing in the kitchen while you make dinner, you really need to prioritize creativity. And it doesn't have to be hard. It can be 3 minutes a day, just hitting these pillars, getting into nature, getting creative, getting movement, and making sure you meditate. Those 4 things they'll change things exponentially. But if you had to choose one and you only had 3 minutes, please get creative. That is the number one factor that comes into play here. So part of what I am excited to share with you is how we can work together. And if you have any desire for additional one-on-one consultation, if you want to know about your specific fertility, if you want to know how your periods are and what it is that it says about you and your fertility journey, if you want herbs and dietary recommendations, specific herbal formulas, and even lab testing, then this is an opportunity to sign on. So what my initial consultation involves is a questionnaire consultation. We go through your health history, do a detailed overview from your entire story of how you came to where you are today. I want to know the ins, the outs, the doctors you've seen, the tests you've taken, the food you're eating on a regular basis, because I'm trying to get down to the root cause and really pinpoint exactly where this started from. Where is the culmination that this vortex grew from? We can look into personalized programs and lab recommendations, and you can even bring your labs that you've worked with from your doctors, OBGYN, and reproductive endocrinologist. So digging into the program, it gives a bit of detail about what we can look at. And my overall consultation is $97. This is a significant discount from the $280 that I normally charge when you see me one-on-one. My clients are booking until late November now, and these are a lot of the things that I work on a really regular basis. So I am dropping the link to schedule the fertility consultation in the chat box. Feel free to click into that if you have any questions. But as I said before, what's included in this is a detailed health history overview, lifestyle, supplement recommendation, foods, nutrition, and all of the things that you want to customize about your specific issues. And if you can fill out the contact information for me, your credit card information, and then you complete the order, you get the email that will then allow you to schedule. And this is a virtual consultation that we'll meet together one-on-one to be able to discuss your specific needs. So if you have any questions, please drop it into the chat box. Let me know if there's any fertility issues that you want to talk about and get to the root cause and the barriers to your specific fertility issues. I want to help you avoid the failed cycles month after month and the extraordinarily expensive process of IVF. A lot of the people that I work with do avoid IUI and IVF and are able to conceive naturally, but we also support people undergoing assisted reproductive therapy. So if you've already scheduled an IUI and want additional support, you want to know how to be able to take your herbs to prevent miscarriage. You want to know what foods to eat to make sure that you're going to have a healthy pregnancy. You'd like to understand what you can do to overcome some of the common symptoms that plague people, whether that's a progesterone deficiency or you've had PCOS. These are all factors that we can dig into detail for you. And if after the consultation you get off the phone and you feel like, that wasn't really worth my time, I've yet to have that, but I like to offer it because then you know that you can't really lose anything. There's 100% money back guaranteed, and I'm happy to give you a full refund if you're not satisfied. So I'm here available to help. I'm on a mission to help people transform their lives, because a huge piece of what I'm bringing to the table is going to affect the next generation. And the healthier I can help you become and prioritize your health, the more you're prioritizing your baby's health. And that in and of itself is shifting the entire dis-ease or disease mindset of so many of our chronic issues. Today, 50% of the population has a chronic disease. And if we are able to change that, and it's proven, there's an amazing study with 2 mice, and they said that the supplements and the health of the mother during the 3 months of preconception planning, 3 months into the actual conception process through pregnancy and lactation affected their child's ability to avoid diabetes and avoid obesity in adulthood. Isn't that fascinating? I mean, I think that's mind blowing. How you take care of yourself now before you get pregnant, during your pregnancy, and when you're breastfeeding will determine your child's propensity for disease, overweight, obesity, and diabetes in their adulthood. So these are such great motivating factors to prioritize your health. And these are some of my beautiful babies that I get to talk about. Beautiful one here. There's no sufficient way to thank you for all the ways you helped me and my new family. You gave me a calm, safe space, very good energy to take a breath from the crazy ride I was on trying to start a family. Your experience and professional expertise, along with your gentle, empathetic demeanor, really contributed on a weekly basis to my overall health and well-being. So I want to help you create your dream future, and I hope you join me. Please let me know if you have any questions. Again, feel free to open the chat box. If you open your chat box and you put it here in bottom, there is 3 little dots at the bottom of the chat box that allow you to open it up for everyone to see. And then you can drop questions in the question and A, or you can click into the link and fill out any of the information for the initial consultation. Please let me know if you have questions. And it was a pleasure to see all of you tonight. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. I know you could have been so many other places, but I'm so thankful that you were here to join me at your dinner time. So have a wonderful evening and take good care. Good night.